Chapter 3. You're Gonna Need Stitches. There was a game I played in kindergarten that I've not encountered anywhere outside of Staten Island. It was called The Firefighter and the Fire. One child would play the firefighter and the other would play the fire. And it was up to the firefighter to chase down the fire and tackle it. As a potential fourth-generation member of the New York City Fire Department, I was eager to play the firefighter. This had the additional advantage of not being the one who got tackled. My friend Michael Bodner was the fire. I yelled, "Go!" And he started running and waving his arms in the air to simulate what a fire might look like while it was running. I chased him with my hose, penis, kidding, for about 10 seconds before Michael Bodner made the brilliant strategic decision to duck under a nearby metal table. I followed him at full speed, but forgot the part about ducking. The corner of the table hit about half an inch from my eyeball and ripped open my eyelid. The fire, unchecked, proceeded to burn down thousands of homes on the island. Anytime a story starts with one child chasing another child with large metal scissors, it never ends well. The situation was, I was extremely angry at my younger brother because he was younger, and before him, there was only me. Now he was here too, and that meant less attention for me. This was a major ongoing problem. So when I was 8 and he was 5, I decided to grab the scissors from my dad's desk and stab my brother in the back. Boys will be boys, I imagine telling a therapist years after the funeral. The main flaw in my stabbing plan was my brother Casey was fast. He had gotten even faster through years of escaping attacks by snow shovels, golf clubs, kitchen knives, and baseball bats. When he saw me holding large metal scissors, he thought, this could end poorly for me. So he started running down the hallway. Our hallway was only 8 or 10 feet long, but halfway down the hallway, the basement door opened outward. Casey, sensing that his fast running might not be fast enough, threw open the door as he passed. I proceeded to slam into the door at full speed, face first, like Wile E. Coyote, and my chin exploded with blood. The hero escaped to live another day. The villain was scarred once again. I shook my fist and yelled, "You haven't seen the last of me, Dr. Jones." And Dr. Jones said, "Please hold still, Colin. I'm trying to sew 4 stitches into your chin." Every public golf course on Staten Island has a secret alter ego. At night, the second hole of South Shore Golf Course turns into a keg party for teenagers. I knew this from when I was a teenager. It's not like I'd go to teenage keg parties now, unless some cool teens invited me, but... The 10th hole of La Tourette Golf Course also becomes a teenage keg party. And if you disable the regulator on the golf carts, you can race them straight downhill at 50 miles an hour until your friend flips a cart and smashes his leg into 25 pieces. Or you can be like my other friend and get so drunk that you drop a lit cigarette and burn down the 150-year-old clubhouse. He's a lawyer now. Silver Lake Golf Course has 2 alter egos. The 18th hole was a mass grave for Irish immigrants in the 1800s. So that's always fun to think about when you're strolling up the fairway on a sunny afternoon. And in much less morbid news, the 7th hole has probably the best hill for sledding in all of Staten Island. So whenever it snowed, my brother and I went straight to Silver Lake, fleeing the ghost of Irishmen with every step. Now, my family had a rule. We were only allowed to use radio flyer sleds, the heavy wood and metal ones from, I want to say, the 1860s? I believe Lincoln rode one to Gettysburg. But one day, when I was 8 years old, my mother, in what she recently described as a moment of weakness, let me try one of those newfangled round plastic sleds that I borrowed from my second-rate friend Mark Gravante, whose name I've changed because shortly afterward, he disappeared into the witness protection program. But for real. Say what you will about radio flyers, at least they have a steering mechanism. Now, it's a piece of string attached to a piece of wood, but it's something. A round piece of plastic is less of a conveyance and more of a battle between momentum and obstacles. In my case, the obstacles won. I flew straight down the hill into a grove of elm trees that I believe was planted to maim slow-witted children. For the second time in what would become a series of almost lost an eye moments in my life, I smashed into a tree, eye socket first. I've discovered firsthand how well designed the human eye socket is. Apparently, natural selection really favors keeping eyes. But the real damage was done to my forehead, which required 15 stitches. To this day, my mother has never forgiven herself. And if you check our garage, there are still only radio flyers hanging on the wall. When I was 10 and my brother was 7, we would play a game called Wolverine and the Wolf. For some reason, all our games sounded like Aesop fables. It wasn't really a game so much as it was a full physical fight. We called it Wolverine and the Wolf, but a better name really would have been Child UFC. There were no rules except for one. The Wolverine, me, was allowed to stand up, which meant that the wolf was not allowed to stand up and thus had to crawl around on all fours. This meant that the older brother, me, who was already taller and hella fat, had the additional advantage of standing. So the wolf would have to crawl around while I stood over him and took my time punching him in the back. It was even more insidious because every time we played, I would ask my brother beforehand, "Do you want to be the Wolverine or the wolf?" He would choose Wolverine because he saw how poorly it had gone last time as the wolf. Then I would really talk up the benefits of being the wolf instead. The wolf has sharper teeth, it's bigger, it's stronger, it can eat more cinnamon rolls, etc. My brother would hear all these amazing benefits and switch to being the wolf. Once my brother had locked in wolf, I would describe the benefits of being the Wolverine. You can stand up on 2 legs instead of having to crawl. You can punch in addition to scratching. You can hold the wolf down and punch it. And you can hold objects in your claws and use them to hit the wolf. I know, I was a legitimate monster. To quote my grandfather after I punched my brother in the back, "What a rotten kid." But my brother finally got a modicum of revenge when, against the established limitations of the wolf, he reached up and raked his nails across my face, leaving a scar that's still fairly prominent on my right cheek. The wolf had finally slayed the fearsome Wolverine, and the Wolverine was taken to see a plastic surgeon to put his face back together. And then the Wolverine was taken to the doctor a second time after he saw the wound scabbing over, thought, "Ooh, a scab," and tore it off his cheek, reopening the wound. Shortly after this, the Wolverine and the wolf would see a child psychologist. I owned a snake-themed bicycle called a Rattler. My friends had real bikes like a Huffy or a Mongoose. They bragged about having chrome caps and shocks and gears. I had a Kmart bike made of Chinese steel with no gears and 10 stencil drawings of snakes. I went a lot of places on that bike. In fact, I rode it through all 5 boroughs of New York during the annual 42-mile bike race. I guarantee you I was the only one who did it on a Rattler. I also ate about 20 power bars along the way because they kept giving them out for free at every rest stop, so I probably gained 5 pounds biking 42 miles. When I first got the Rattler, I decided to charm it, as one does with a snake. I did this by pedaling as fast as I could down my street, then suddenly slamming the pedals backwards to activate the brakes. Again, this was not a good bike. At the time, I had not yet been exposed to the basic principle of physics. Therefore, I did not understand that when an object, like a bike, is in motion and a person, like me, is attached to the object, that person assumes the velocity of the object he or she is attached to. However, when the object's velocity suddenly changes to, say, 0, the velocity of the person remains at the original velocity until it's reduced to 0 by a second object, such as the pavement. I gotta go to the hospital again. Now, call me crazy, but when you already have 5 sets of stitches on your face and you're 33 years old, you sort of assume you're done getting stitches on your face. And when your face is on TV, you would assume you'd be extra careful not to damage that vase, so people don't flip to your channel and think it's Shark Week. Well, both of those assumptions were foolish, as are many decisions I make in my life. Some quick background. I am not a great surfer, but I'm an okay surfer. I can do most surfing stuff, as no surfer would ever say. If you saw me on a wave, you never think, that dude's ripping it, he must be a pro. But you also wouldn't yell, that guy's a kook, let's murder him. That's where I'm at, surfing-wise. I'm fairly cautious, and more than anything, I try to stay out of other people's way. Okay, background over. On the 4th of July in 2016, I was down the Jersey Shore visiting my then 101-year-old grandmother in the town of Lafayette. I had just bought a new surfboard, and I was excited because there were supposed to be waves that weekend and I had never surfed in Jersey before. I walked to the beach at 11 a.m., aka Dawn Patrol, and there was only one other guy in the water. He seemed to be actively bad at surfing, so I thought, sweet, I can get all the waves. All the mushy 2-foot waves. I paddled out, which on the Jersey Shore takes about 3 seconds, and caught my first wave. For history's sake, let's just say it was 100 feet high and a perfect barrel. I jumped off my board, turned around to paddle back out, and was immediately hit in the face by the other guy's board. Apparently, he had just let it go so the board could ride a wave on its own directly into my nose. If you haven't gotten hit in the face by a 10-foot surfboard, it really, really, really hurts. I give it 1 star. I touched my nose and it was bleeding. I thought, God damn, did my nose just break? Then the dumb part of me thought, God damn, does this mean I have to stop surfing? I actually debated staying out and surfing more because I was so pissed off at this guy for ruining my day after 1 wave. Then I touched my nose again, and there was more blood, and I thought, maybe bleeding a bunch in the ocean isn't a great idea. I walked back to my grandma's house in no mood to celebrate the birth of our nation. My mom took one look at me and said, you're going to need stitches. Then she said, you know how many plastic surgeons are working on the 4th of July? 0. So 2 days later, I got stitches. I really hope for the last time.